What's up, traders? Matt from the Trade Brigade here doing a technical analysis on ticker symbol PATH for UiPath Inc. On the left-hand side, we do have the daily time frame, and on the right-hand side, the 30-minute intraday time frame. First things first, this will, of course, be a bit of an update. We were talking about it prior when it was still in this range here, probably talking about this massive gap down from earnings. Regardless, we've moved significantly lower since then, and on today's session, there were a couple of downgrades out there across analysts, which led to lower prices during the session, okay? So that is the fundamental reason for kind of what's going on here. From a technical perspective, I would encourage you to keep this trend line on your chart. What you'll notice is that here's your anchor, touch number 1 and 2 right here. Things don't really change sentiment-wise, trend-wise, until we can start closing candles above this and aggressively through price, right? It's not like we want to just see this go sideways to lower and eventually break it through time, right? That's not as important of a break as it would be, again, if we broke it upward through price, okay? So that's the first thing to point out from the daily. The next thing, of course, would be some horizontal levels here. This was notably a very important support at and around that 51 whole dollar. And now that it's broken down, I would be kind of careful here, noting that we aren't really, there is no price history to go off of. Obviously, this was the opening print way back here, and we're moving into uncharted territories to the downside. So again, please use a little bit of caution. There's no saying how low it can go, and there's also no saying where it could bounce. So for me, these are the situations where I need to wait and see some sort of structural bottoming pattern for me to want to get involved, right? I'm not just going to blindly try to catch this falling knife. So some scenarios to watch out for from the daily, then we'll talk nuance on the 30, would of course be, can we put in some sort of inverted head and shoulders, right? Shoulder 1, head, shoulder 2, and then we break the neckline and go, right? That's a potential scenario. The other one that we commonly talk about, of course, is a double bottom, right? So touch 1, touch 2, that was a little deeper than I wanted to go, but then there's your neckline, right? So these are the types of patterns that you want to be on the lookout for. And again, probably not just blindly buying this move down here, because as we mentioned, there's really no structure underneath that we can use for a risk-friendly entry. So that's from the daily perspective. Let's take a look at the 30-minute, then we'll wrap the video up. The main thing I want to do here is, of course, talk about the range from today's session. So big range to the downside, aggressive selling into the end of the day. Note that volume is ramping higher instead of tapering off on the sell. Did we even make it to the 38.2? Absolutely not. There was no bounce into the end of the day, and 49, that 38.2 level, is going to be the recapture zone if there's any sort of upside trade to be had. Okay, so let's take off the fibs now and talk about this in terms of 30-minute scenarios. So if we can sort of consolidate in this zone, that of course is going to be bearish, okay? Then you would look for some sort of bear flag to be put in from the daily perspective, something that looks like this. Doesn't really matter the candle structure, as long as it never takes out 49 to the upside. There's your flag. You take the break of the lows for lower here. Are you actually going to short this thing? Let's come on over to the trade tab. It is hard to borrow, so you're not going to short the shares, but if we look at the options chain, decent open interest, and that might change, and convert into some actual traded volume here. But as of right now, not really something that's too attractive to trade the puts contracts on, based on, again, the volume here, as well as the spread. Not the worst thing in the world, but just not the most attractive option contracts that are out there, okay? So I'd probably just avoid this instead of trying to get a short inside of path, okay? The upside case, of course, is if we can recapture 49, great. Look for the move here, probably to the highs from this, as well as the 50 psychological number, okay? So that would be my upside target on a quick dead cat bounce, not overstaying my welcome, looking at 50 as a major target, take off a majority of the position, and then if you're so inclined, maybe you hold out a little bit for this gap fill overhead. Again, after that, we're really focusing on that resistance trend line, which is going to be a huge thorn in the side of this name. That's going to wrap it up for this week's video on Path. If you enjoyed it or learned anything new, let me know in the comments section or by giving the video a thumbs up. Don't forget our main channel is linked in the description, and all of that being said, I wish you a green trading week.